There are two about forms we need to discuss. The first one is a part of the app and describes the app builder. The second one is a form that designs the about form that will appear in the end result restaurant app. In both cases, about is an important page to have, as we can stick a lot of important information there without impacting the flow or usability of the final app. The about form of the application is probably the simplest form we have. It just displays the placeholder HTML. I'm not a big fan of HTML based UIs, but one thing HTML does relatively well is about forms, and it's really easy to just move this out. Notice I'm using set URL hierarchy, which allows us to package the entire HTML source tree with CSS, JavaScript, etc. under the HTML package. This will display implicitly in a portable way for the devices. This is the placeholder HTML. It doesn't really matter, as you can see it's just a placeholder. I'm showing it only for completeness sake. The about form also has validation for the URL value, which won't allow us to accept the form until we have a valid URL. That disables the checkbox for OK until we enter a valid URL. I'll just enter the URL for Codename1's homepage so we can see that this doesn't just take the URL, it also shows the preview. Originally, I thought about embedding HTML within the final app, but that is painful to implement in a generic way. I'm assuming that every restaurant would already have a website in place. Notice the flickering is an issue in the simulator and not on the actual device. The implementation of this form is also pretty trivial. We use UI binding to update the about page URL, but it's such a simple form that there isn't much need for anything. As we scroll down, we see that the page has OK and back commands that either release or commit the single binding object. We can also see the validation binding that disables the OK command, but the one interesting thing is that we load the page URL only when the user interface is finally valid. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this informative.